Okay, so this is our very first evening hosting our very first time actually hosting one of these type of webinars for the sector. Um, I hope you can see my screen okay. If not, please let me know. And feel free to use the chat, the question and answer throughout the presentation. We'll try to keep it about a half an hour or so for tonight, with lots of time for discussion and questions at the end. But yeah, I hope that everyone's having a great week so far. It looks like a fairly decent turnout for the first time. Um, my name is Krystal Churcher. I'm a childcare operator myself. I'm also the chair for ACE, an association of childcare operators across Alberta. I work a lot with new centers that are opening. I also work a lot with centers that are looking to kind of improve or maybe support their educators and their programs as they're kind of rolling out new programs or just improving centers that have been around for quite a while. So a little bit of everything under my hats that I wear. Tonight, I'm here in a role to hopefully just bring some different perspective to you as educators and maybe operators, some of you, and a little bit of practical kind of play-based conversation around really how we can explore setting up programs, setting up activities that are easy to set up within a budget, usually within things. I tried to find things that you probably already have around your center to make it easy for you. Would love your feedback on this because, like I said, this is a bit of a new endeavor, the Learning Lab. We usually do lunch and learn style programming for operators under ChildFriendly. So yeah, feel free to follow up after this and let us know what you think, what worked, what didn't. We will also be following up with some great resources that'll be sent out to everyone who registered following the presentation tonight. So our first learning lab is called Explore, Create, and Build. And every one of these learning labs will kind of be built around those concepts. But I'd like to just start by talking about what the Learning Lab series is really all about, what the intention of it is. The purpose of the Learning Lab is really to bring educators together, talk about practical approaches to planning play-based environments. We're not here to support really one framework or one curriculum over the other. It's really open-ended, play-based programming and play-based environments. No complicated lesson plans, no Pinterest-worthy activities here, no rigid curriculum binders, but just really simple, engaging invitations that support the interests and development of the children likely in your care. Children show us every day what they're curious about. Our role really as educators is to notice those interests and then design the environments that help that curiosity grow. Today, we're going to talk about how simple materials and intentional setup can really support exploration, creativity, problem solving, and early development skills.
Sound up. Which one?
Sorry, just going to mute you. There you go. We are very grateful to ChildFriendly. They sponsor and make sure that these resources are available to the sector. This is just one of many of the kind of information sessions and resources and tools that ChildFriendly has put out for free across the board to make sure that the sector is supported and just has a variety of different resources available. If you haven't heard of ChildFriendly, it is an Alberta-based management software. Maybe some of you are using it in your centers, and we'll touch a little bit on it at the end, but we are here today because of that generosity of ChildFriendly. So what is the Learning Lab? The Learning Lab framework really supports intentional play-based learning through simple classroom invitations. Instead of designing complicated lesson plans, educators, or we hope at least we can support educators in creating environments where children can explore materials, experiment through movement and art, build coordination and problem-solving skills. The focus really shifts from that direct instruction to observation and interaction. And when children explore with materials freely, we begin to see their interests, how they approach challenges, how they communicate, and what skills they are developing. The Learning Lab framework is organized activities into 3 areas. So with each of these activities that we offer, I think they're going to be about once a month. You'll see they're set up in different categories under Explore, Create, and Build. and each will support a different aspect of the development. Why hands-on play matters. Hands-on play is incredibly important for early learning. Children develop cognitive skills through experimentation, and when children pour or stack or roll or build, they're exploring cause and effect, comparison, problem solving, early math skills. Hands-on activities also strengthen motor skills. They develop coordination, hand strength, shoulder stability, all of which are foundational skills for writing later on. Play also encourages language and social development, and children learn to describe what they're doing, collaborate with their peers, and communicate through ideas. So through play, children are developing multiple skills at the same time. Today, we're going to explore 3 simple classroom invitations. Under exploring, we're going to kind of go through and show you how to set up and why it's important to set it up differently. An activity that is based on scooping and pouring and exploring sensory investigation. Under create, we're going to talk about an activity that is all about painting and rolling and creating a process art activity. And building, we're talking about a sticky wall activity. Each activity supports different developmental skills. And the important thing to notice is that the materials are very simple. Like I said, we really try to find things that you might have already, or you hopefully do have already in your center, that don't add to the cost of your setup, of your program, and make it really easy and practical for you to incorporate. These are items, like I said, most of you already have. And what changes really between the 3 activities is how we present the materials and how we support the play. We'll start with explore. So our first learning invitation focuses on exploring. Simple materials can create powerful learning opportunities that support sensory exploration, early math thinking, coordination, and focus. For younger children, this activity is very simple. So each one of our activities will hit on a 12 to 18 month kind of age and development level, and then go up from there. So for this one, so for the younger children from 12 to 18 months, the materials that we might include in this would be some large scoops, 1 to 2 big cups, like measuring cups or cups that you have around, and some simple base materials. I know people use a lot of different things, and some people in their programs don't have food in their sensory, some do. So this can be really open-ended based on what you have available and what works within your program. Children practice actions with this one, like pouring and dumping and filling and emptying. And at this stage, we see repetition is really important. Children repeat the same action many times, which helps them understand that cause and effect and develop coordination. So it's a really easy kind of sensory bin idea with either water or oats or sand or rice, whatever you have available to you. Easy big cups or scoops. You can see in the picture just measuring cups and some buckets, and using those words while you're observing the children and facilitating this, like pouring and dump and full and empty. Very easy activity to set up that can really stretch out a long way for learning and really build those foundational skills for the children around sensory exploration, early math thinking, coordination and focus, even language here, depending on how you're facilitating. So for the next one, we're going to build it up based on going up for an age here to 19 to 36 months. Now with this one, children are kind of under the same setup, same type of materials, same concept, I guess. The children are experimenting with volume and comparison. So educators can introduce language here like, is it full? Can you fill this one? What happens when you pour slowly? These small questions can really encourage thinking and experimentation. Same materials you can use, like same kind of sensory water table, or even like you see in the picture here, a bin, cups and scoops, funnels, small containers with lids, really developing that focus around those early math skills, bilateral coordination, sustained attention. You can see some of the language that's suggested to just build that engagement with the children and really ask those questions and put the language out there while they're experimenting with this one. For our 3 to 4-year-olds, our preschool age children, we can expand this activity even further. So you can take the same measuring cups, multiple containers. You can add some color to this, some sorting bowls. If you have, you can see the picture uses some dinosaurs and different things. You can incorporate some pom-poms like in the second picture. Really easy, simple things that you have likely lying around in the center. Children will begin exploring with measurement, prediction, and planning. And some of the language and questions you can have around this would be, how many scoops will it take? Which container holds more? What could you try next? So again, just taking those same basic kind of activity with those minimal, really minimal kind of simplified resources that you likely have around, reframing it for each age group and really kind of revisiting why it matters and all of the things that they're learning and building on just by such a basic sensory activity that we've outlined here. So under our Create Learning Lab framework, we're going to talk a little bit about a process art activity. Process art focusing on the experience of creating and not the final product. This is a very important concept in early childhood education. Children explore materials freely without worrying about making something perfect. It's very open-ended for them. Our 12 to 18 months, 12 to 18 month old activity. And we're taking, again, the same concept, the same basic activity, reconstructing it for each age group so it meets kind of the developmental levels, and really just kind of working with those materials that you'll have around your center. So you might provide things like large paper, even like you can see this picture of maybe a roll, butcher block paper, or something like that you have around, some thick tools like sponges, rollers, there's a car in this picture, and some limited paint colors. So the focus on this one is all around that movement and sensory exploration, sensory tolerance, gross motor, arm movement, cause and effect of, rolling that car through the paint, what happens. Some of the language that you can use when you're facilitating this kind of activity would be things like roll and push and look at the marks, look what the car does, those kind of things. Simple words that support language development skills while the children are exploring, creating on their own. For toddlers, using kind of the same foundation for an activity under Create, you can include things like cars, again, sponges, vertical painting surfaces. So you see a picture of the children with paint against the wall, so changing kind of the layout of this activity. You could have different items in here. It doesn't have to be cars, maybe it's dinosaurs or whatever the interest might be in your center. Vertical painting is really a wonderful way to strengthen that shoulder stability and crossing the midline, which is really important for writing readiness later on. So just making that one basic activity into different things and for different age groups across your center. You might ask when you're facilitating this, like, what happens if you press harder? Can you roll it slowly? Can you roll it quick or fast? And look at that line, look at that, look at those tire marks or look at those footprints, those kind of things. For the older preschool children, you can even expand it further with different textures, layered materials, maybe different mediums like cardboard or foil or fabric. You see some bubble wrap, I think, in one of the pictures here. Children now are experimenting with design and patterns and creative problem solving, again, with the focus being on that exploration rather than the final product. So what you've seen here is kind of 3 different age groups, very similar materials, and utilizing those different development focuses, making sure that it's open-ended for the children, and providing that kind of language support as they're going through these activities. Our third invitation is Build. This one is a sticky art wall, which really could support that fine motor development, spatial awareness, visual planning. It's also really a wonderful way to encourage collaboration between children, maybe a community project that the group works on. This could even be something that's ongoing for a period of time while the children are interested in building it into really something amazing from the whole group. So the setup for this one is really simple. I mean, a large sheet of contact paper placed on a wall or on a surface with the sticky side facing outward, being accessible for them. The children can attach materials like cardboard and yarn and ribbons, leaves, lightweight shapes. It's totally, I mean, limitless of what you could use here. You could really support the experience by introducing materials gradually, allowing children to guide the project, to maybe bring in different things that they want to include. The most important strategy here would really be to step back and just observe and facilitate. So for our younger age group, our 12 to 18 months, with this activity outline, you're focusing on reaching upwards, pressing materials, exploring the texture. For the toddlers, you could introduce moving materials, layering, repositioning objects. Sorry. And for, as you go up in the age groups here, you can make it even more elaborate, but starting here with some basic soft items, some single textured items. We have some pom-poms and tissue paper squares in these pictures, and really encouraging that reach and those different movements and strengthening of the gross motor skills and coordination, even fine motor skills here, using language like up and press and more, and you could talk about what textures feel like. So we go to the next age group here, the 19 to 36 months. You can include different materials here, maybe some mixed textures, some different lightweight items. We see some pieces of yarn, some feathers, and pipe cleaners. There's different materials on the final one. It looks like even some outdoor items like leaves and pine needles and flowers and different things, cardboard. The development focus on that pincher grass, the pulling and repositioning, beginning design choices. Some of the language you can incorporate here, the questions would be about where should that go? Can you move it? Let's add another one. You could talk about, what does it feel like again, or what colors, what patterns that you see emerging. I think too, this would be a really easy one, like I say, to leave it up as more of a class project, and let that collaboration and to really see what it develops into over a short period of time. For our 3 to 4-year-olds, you're going to be able to, again, make it as intricate as you want. It's a contact paper with as many different options as you have available. You could add those cardboard shapes, maybe some different textured items. We see some recycling. It looks like bottle caps in different shapes here. You could add some scissors and paper nearby and let them design what they want to stick onto the project. The focus here would be around that collaboration building, the pattern creation, the visual planning, asking those questions, to inquire about what they're building together, what the vision might be, how you connect all of these things, and where the project is going. You could talk a little bit about, like you say, what the vision here is and how they're supporting their friends, and really work on that collaboration together to really connect the project and build those layers of design here. So just as we're kind of wrapping up, observation focus for educators, so important when you're working with children to make sure that, not only are you engaging in these activities, but that you're observing and you're documenting the learning, to help with planning, to help with the interests, to help with guiding and supporting the children that you're caring for. Some of the things that you might notice around the children and some of the language and maybe terms that you might put forward when you're doing your observation would be around that engagement, their persistence, the creative expression, the language use, like we mentioned in each of those activities, some of those key phrases and things that you could put forward, the problem solving, the regulation here. The documentation really focusing on the process and not just the final product of the activity. How did it work? How did it not work? How could you maybe adjust it next time? What are you noticing they were really engaged with? And where did the activity go? Where did they take it by the end of it? So there's so many things to think about. There's an example here of just what an observation could look like. Ava carefully layering tissue paper pieces vertically, adjusting placement until they stayed, demonstrating that planning and persistent and refined hand control. These kind of observations make it really easy for you to take such a simplified activity and translate it into something that parents can really see as value and see the learning that is coming from, again, something so simple as contact paper and different craft materials and recycling can have such a huge impact on learning and have so many positives and just different things that you could really use through your observation to share with parents and show what the children are learning while they're with you. Really add value to the program and to the services that are provided there as well. So before we finish today, I just want to come back to some of the resources we mentioned earlier. This is put through with ChildFriendly. They do have, I don't know if anyone's using ChildFriendly here, but if you are, I hope you're exploring some of the learning modules that they have available, which are all for free. You can go in and search just like we did here tonight, based on age group, based on interest, based on kind of topic, and tons of different activities will come up and help guide your planning, because I've worked on the floor for years myself, and I know planning is always something that it can be difficult, especially if time is not always something you have set aside for planning. So anything we can do to support planning and making easier for educators to add those activities and really meet those developmental needs of each of those age groups is definitely a big win for the sector. So like I said, if you are using this program, you have access to that learning resource module. There will be a package of resources that follow this, including the activities we went through tonight. They'll be all laid out for you with the resources that you need to facilitate them, some tips and tricks about how you can really build on the learning around each of those age groups and each of those activities. So really with that, that's pretty much it for our learning lab tonight. I hope this was informational for you. I hope that it gave you maybe some ideas of some easy things you could put together, and how you could take that one kind of activity and build it for each of those kind of core age groups. More than happy to take questions if anybody has any questions or have some conversation around activities and planning that, if I can support you before we wrap up, I'd be more than happy to do that. So if you do have any questions, feel free to turn your microphone on and ask, or put your hand up. These will be ongoing, so we will be offering another one of these, kind of the same type of format. Hopefully I'll get better with these, a little bit smoother with each one, but they will be based on that concept of explore, create, and build, having an activity for each that we adjust based on those 3 age groups. Again, the whole focus will be trying to make sure that it's easy for you to implement in your program, that it's using materials that are hopefully readily accessible, not going to break your budget, and that we can provide some real practical guidance to hopefully support the play-based learning in your programs, that just give you maybe some fresh ideas on how to utilize resources you already have around. Right, well, if there's no questions, I'm happy to let you go for the evening. I hope that you found some form of information tonight that you can take back into your practice, hopefully tomorrow on Friday the 13th. And again, hopefully we'll see you again for either one of our lunch and learns, which happen every other week over the lunch hour, based more on an operational kind of side, or at our next learning lab. And those invitations will go out shortly. So again, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I appreciate everyone showing up, especially late on a Thursday. And hopefully you found this useful.
Thank you.
See you next time. You're
Have a
welcome.
good night.